So Mike, what type of investor is this opportunity best suited for?
I mean, I think it's a really good question, Marcella. And I think as a company, we deal with different types of investors, and investors have different needs. So I think it really depends where you are on that investment journey. I think the two types of investors that we deal with would be, number one, clients who are building wealth and creating wealth. But then we have that other type of client, which is maybe in the back end of their journey. And I think they're investors that have built the wealth, created the wealth, but they want to preserve the wealth and they want to get that wealth working for them.
Why are more international investors adding social housing to their portfolios today? How does this compare to traditional buy-to-let investments in terms of efforts and returns?
So basically, why does this appeal more to international investors? It's because, one, the UK is one of the most regulated and safest countries in the world to invest into property. Why into social housing is because the UK is, I believe, the only country in the world which offers this type of investment vehicle for investors. So the UK is very, and has been since the end of the Second World War, really, putting billions of pounds into social housing and support for the most vulnerable people in the UK. So a lot of investors often ask, why do the UK government do this? But it's a part of the UK's whole DNA. It's what they do as a country, or we do as a country, is look after people who need support very, very well, and always have and always will. And because of the way this is funded, I mean, to give you an idea, this year alone in 2026, there's going to be around £2 billion put into social housing and supported living as funding minimum. So it could be more, it could be 3 billion. Okay, so the huge budget's put aside for this. So what this does, it allows an investor to be able to tap into that kind of investment. It's not been around forever, social housing has, but allowing for an investor to buy a property which is funded by the government has only been around for about 3 or 4 years. So because of it's a totally hands-off investment, so there's no maintenance cost that you will have, as which you would have with a typical buy-to-let property that you own as an investment. That's all taken care of by the housing providers, and also the rents are paid regardless of occupancy levels as well, and there's no management involvement either, and there's no direct involvement with the tenant. So the tenant in these properties is the housing association. You don't have an agreement with an individual person like me living in your property. So it removes all those aspects that you typically have with a normal buy-to-let, and the returns are much higher. So if you were to buy a property in the United Kingdom and rent locally on a long-term contract, you might make 4%, maybe 5% per year as a return. These pay up to 10 to 12% returns per year, and it does not drop. It only ever goes up with inflation.
I think the bottom line is it cuts out the risks of normal real estate investing, Marcella. So it takes away vacancy, takes away maintenance and management. So again, it's more like a concept that you're buying than a piece of real estate.
You're buying numbers.
You're buying numbers. Yeah, it's like putting money into S&P 500. I always say that S&P 500. But unlike the S&P 500, it's backed by an asset.